I am Janine Mills, and it is my honor and pleasure to welcome you to ICABA-TV's Millionaire Moves, The Wealth Choice. We have a stellar cast of highly influential leaders committed to helping you achieve business success and create wealth. Your host is the founder and chief servant officer of the ICABA World Network, Jerome Hutchinson Jr., a visionary social impact entrepreneur who has created a global online ecosystem, assisting hundreds of Black professionals and entrepreneurs worldwide to succeed, lead, and prosper. Next, we have Dr. William Pickard, author of Millionaire Moves and Surviving the Shift, one of America's most successful entrepreneurs, philanthropists, and highly influential business leaders. Next to Dr. Pickard, we have America's foremost thought leader and speaker on Black success and wealth creation, Dr. Dennis Kimbro. Dr. Kimbro is the author of several best-selling books, including The Wealth Choice, Success Secrets of Black Millionaires, and the classic Think and Grow Rich, The Black Choice.
Ladies and gentlemen, hold on to your seats, open your minds, and get ready to expand your possibilities. Because today we're going to have an opportunity to hear from two individuals that represent some of the best and brightest minds and most accomplished in the world today. Tony Brown's Journal. Anybody remember Tony Brown's Journal?
Blowing the dust off of that.
Detroit. Yeah. Well, I had a chance years ago to bring Tony Brown's Journal to Tony Brown to Louisville, Kentucky, to do a Tony Brown's Journal.
Okay.
So I've been at this for a minute. I'm not new to the game, if you will. And so today, in honor of Tony Brown, okay, so it was just kind of a tip of the hat to the brother who first brought Black business and Black wealth to the airwaves.
Most definitely.
And if you don't know who Tony Brown is, then use that little thing that's on your phone called Google, and Google Tony Brown. But for years, I mean like 20 years, he was on PBS. And a lone wolf, almost, if you will.
Oh, he had all the icons on his show.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
You know, so but it didn't have YouTube. So I'm already ahead of the game. So today we're going to talk about two things in particular. One of them is the book Millionaire Moves, and I'm going to bring it up first. And Millionaire Moves: 7 Proven Principles of Entrepreneurship. And there's a gentleman out here with Pyramid Bookstore. If you like what you heard and you want to know more, then you can pick up the book on your way out. But there are 7 proven entrepreneurship principles in this book. And I want to ask Bill to talk about that right now. Let's talk a little bit about the first proven principle of entrepreneurship in your book, and it is vision. Okay? Vision is the foresight and the ability to sustain an image of something that has not yet manifested.
Preach.
Yes, sir.
Preach.
All right.
Preach.
Okay. Well, I'm handing the mic over to you, preacher.
People walk around every day and they walk past thousands of opportunities. And sometimes you'll see that person or meet that person a month later or 3 months later, and they say, I never saw that. I never thought of it. Because their vision is different than sight. You see things, but you don't visualize things. And I'm convinced that you will never be what you cannot see. You must visualize what you want to actualize. Now, I'm not bragging because I was a C student. I'm not happy because I was a social work student. But I always knew that I wanted to be successful. Now, I didn't know God would do this, but I knew God was going to do something, And I think this visualization is so critical. Because when God gives you the vision, He also gives you the provision to achieve the vision. and you say, okay, I got 2 arms, 2 legs, 2 eyes. What's next? What more do you need? It doesn't mean you got to be a walking genius like my good fraternity brother here. It doesn't mean that you must be able to jump the highest buildings in Detroit or where we are. But it does mean that you have the God-given abilities to become and to achieve whatever you so desire. And I know it sounds like pop psychology. I know it sounds like washed over dishwater. But trust me, you will never be what you cannot see. You must visualize it every morning when you wake up. You must see it. And if you don't believe it, go back and read about Madam C.J. Walker. Madam C.J. Walker.
Without a doubt.
In those days, there was no Ebony, no Essence. But they had a Sears and Roebuck catalog came out. And she and her daughter would take that Sears and Roebuck catalog and they would put the pictures of the things and the women that they wanted to be when they grew up as women and mothers and grandmothers. And of course, you know the story. Not only did she do it, she outdid most people in America, black or white. Repeat, she outdid most people in America, black or white. So this visualization is real. But again, you have to decide every day the choice. And I hope and pray that you will realize that if you cannot see it, you won't be it.
Hey, Bill, let me ask you a question. I remember you talking about a phrase that you use about vision and looking out the window. Am I kind of pulling at something that, about what you can see outside the window? Yeah.
Jay-Z.
Yeah, there you go.
Jay-Z.
So this is the Jay-Z thing.
Now this is almost criminal. At 17 years of age, living in the Marcy Projects in Brooklyn, New York, Jay-Z, so-called rapper, so-called thug, what do you want to call it, is sitting in this project where they lived. And he's looking through this little bitty window. And this young man, at 17 years of age, writes down the following: your vision must be greater than the window you're looking through.
Ooh. And say it again. One more time.
Your vision must be greater than the window you're looking through. No matter how large that window is. No matter how large that window is, your vision must be greater. Now, can you imagine Jay-Z's windows today, what happens and what he looks like and what they look like? But it's real. And in our community, I'm not being negative. But we have a very limited perception of self. We have a very limited perception of our community. And most importantly, we have a very limited perception of our collective community. And yet, as this brother can tell you, we have done everything in America that a person can do, individually and collectively. Now, I'm going to tell you one quick story. I'm from LaGrange, Georgia. Y'all never heard of that little town?
I've been through LaGrange, Georgia.
Okay, right down there by Columbus and West Point. This is God's truth. There was a man born in 1851. And he grows up to become a bridge builder. His master was a bridge builder, so he built bridges. His name was Horace L. King, King. During the Civil War, King would build bridges for the Union Army, blow them up, and then rebuild them for the Southern Army.
Wow.
He was that kind of brother during the Civil War. After the war is over, there was a depression. He moved from Columbus, Ohio, to LaGrange, Georgia. He built a community for black folk in LaGrange, Georgia. I was born at 213 King Street. I was 40 years of age before I recognized that the street had been named in honor of a black man. And when he passed away, his son, Thomas King, became a trustee at Clark College.
Wow.
And remained there for 27 years. So, please understand.
Great story.
Please understand. This ain't something that happened last week. This ain't something that happened last month. We've been doing this ever since we got here. And Hutch has seen my new book.
Name me a person who influenced you in terms of your vision of what was possible. Just give me their name. Somebody that you met, that you read about, that you heard, that made you have a bigger vision of what you could be. Anybody?
Yeah. First of all, I'm from a little town in Georgia, LaGrange, Georgia, where we had, color schools and we had white schools. And so it was kind of easy to have role models because Mrs. Jones was a teacher of chemistry and this guy taught mathematics. But I would say of all those things, Otis Moss.
Otis Moss.
Otis Moss was the one that just lit my life up.
We're going to go to commercial break, and we're going to talk to Dr. Dennis Kimbro about the first law of wealth, which is knowledge. Thank you. This is Millionaire Moves, the Wealth Choice.
ICABA-TV Millionaire Moves, the Wealth Choice. This episode is brought to you by PNC Private Bank.
Level up your success with the ICABA World Network, where accomplished black professionals and entrepreneurs have created a thriving global ecosystem built from valuable connections and impactful collaborations. Be a part of a trusted network that uplifts, inspires, and enhances your success. Join like-minded and leading black professionals to foster meaningful relationships, unlock opportunities, and access the resources you need to thrive in your career, business, and life. Go to ICABAWorldNetwork.com and join today.
I grew up around blueprints, so I have a natural affinity for real estate. My grandfather was a developer, so that's how I got involved in real estate. So that's what started our business almost 23 years ago.
Well, I got involved with real estate because before getting married 17 years ago, the first thing that my wife asked me to do is make sure that I get my real estate license. So it's been 17 years. Well, the things that we do at Exclusive Real Estate involves a variety of things. But one, we're very, very passionate about one most important thing, is helping you find a place that inspires your purpose.
How do we do this? We actually take the time to listen to our clients, find out their needs, find out what their goals are in order to help them meet their needs so that we can find places that inspire their purpose.
We actually help the client with our experience in code enforcement and title resolve a major title issue. They were buying a large investment, several $1 million, and we found out for that particular client that they had a deed restriction. They could not use the property after they purchased it. The lawyers didn't pick it up, but my wife, with her background and title, picked that issue up. In addition to that, we also saved that client about $70,000 in liens and fines based on the background that I have in code enforcement.
Our teamwork and collaboration has helped so many clients move forward, whether it's transforming lives, shaping communities, or achieving legacy. We find places that
Inspires your purpose. How can we help you in anything that you feel that is challenging for you in real estate? Give us a call. We're here to help you.
All right. Well, guys, this is just thrilling. the things that we're hearing, what we're learning, and having a chance to discuss with these two icons, we're going to now move into knowledge as being the first law of wealth. And if you have talked to, interviewed, and surveyed 1,000 black millionaires, I think you've learned something about wealth. So listen up, guys. Dennis, talk to us about the wealth choice and the first law of wealth.
Well, Hutch and Bill, I'm honored to be here. Exactly, I had a 118 question survey, but I also had 6 focus groups around the country. And if you were an African American in 7 figures, you didn't get into the focus groups. And I wanted to see how they interact with each other. And it was in those focus groups that I asked them, so what are some of the daily habits? What are some of the thoughts that you have? What are some of the rules that you abide by? And over time, I said, well, these are the 7 laws that they hold nearest and dear. Top of the list, knowledge begins, prosperity begins in the mind, but ends in the purse. What in the world does that mean? So there I am with Bishop T.D. Jakes, and I said, Bishop, I had several interviews with him, and one was a little bit more than 2 hours, and we're running behind. I said, give me the keys of the kingdom. And he said, you've heard it before. And I said, what is it? He said, you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach him how to fish, and you feed him or her for a lifetime. But show him or her how to buy the pond, and they will never know struggle. Well, how do you buy the pond? That's a mindset shift. That's knowledge. There I am with of Shark Tank, Damon John, and I said, Damon, what was the high water mark in your life? And he said to me, obviously when I had to burn the furniture. And I said, what do you mean burn the furniture? He said, when I finally got financing from Samsung, they loaned me $80,000, and I hired all these seamstresses, and they showed up on my mother's house with all their equipment. And I said, what did you do? He said, well, I didn't have any room in the house for the equipment, so I took all the furniture out of my mother's house, put it in the backyard, and set it on fire. That's a mindset shift. Everything happens to you twice in life. First the inner, then the outer. First the thought, then the thing. And to use a biblical reference, it says, the first shall be last and the last shall be first. Well, you're going to get different variations, who you're talking to and blah, blah, blah. Well, black America's been last all these years, one day will be first. It doesn't mean that. It means that we live in a society that's predicated upon the fact, until I can touch it, until I can see it, until I can feel it, I'm not going to believe it. Well, he's telling you the physical that you have first, put last. And the mental or spiritual that you have last, put first. So I found that out in them. I mean, they had deep-seated spiritual beliefs. They kept the vision in front of them at all times. And Bill, you talked about that. What thou seest, that thou beest. What are the words, pictures, and images going through the mind of the successful individual? Well, they think about wealth, and they think about prosperity, and they think about going somewhere, and they think about doing something. What are the words, pictures, and images going through the mind of the downtrodden and unsuccessful individual? They think about lack. They think about scarcity. They think about, oh, woe is me. All you got to do is just change the algorithms, and you will change the life. As you mentioned, the vision.
It's really tough being the host of the show, because I'm sitting here going like, and I'm almost in the trance here, like, okay, Hutch, don't forget you got a job to do. But Dennis, as you talked about, knowledge being the first law of wealth, was there anyone that you interviewed that told you something that they either intuitively knew, learned through experience, that was a game changer? Could have been a parable, could have just been something that they just distilled down into a sentence or two that kind of guide their life.
Well, I got a number of examples, and I guess front and center is when I was with Antonio Reed, one half of LaFace Records. And I'm looking at his bio. I had all the information. I knew the questions I was going to ask him. And one of the questions, he had spent 2 months at Harvard to take an executive management class. And I said, Antonio, why in the world would you stay up at Harvard, for 2 months? I said, you and Babyface, if you lived 10 lifetimes, you couldn't spend all the money you earned with LaFace Records. And he said to me, well, music is a business. Everybody's trying to get into, music and entertainment and blah, blah, blah. And it is a business. But he said, I learned long time ago, the moment that you cease to grow and develop, you begin to die. When he told me that, I placed a sign in my classroom at Clark, Atlanta. And everybody on that campus knows they took the sign down because it was on the door, but I had a number of signs. One of the first signs on my door was, if you don't work hard, you don't belong here. And if you don't want to lead, under no circumstances walk through my door. Then you come in my classroom and you'll see another sign that says, if you don't read, if you don't study, if you don't grow, if you don't develop, if you don't go to the seminars, if you don't go to the workshops, if you don't sit in the front row on the first seat, another student will. And the day that you meet that other student, you lose. Yeah. So probably the best example was my father. Folks ask me all the time, when did you start blah, blah, blah? My father and my family did not come from money, okay? My grandfather was a butler. My grandmother was a maid. They worked for a wealthy white family in North Carolina. I doubt if they ever got a chance to vote in their lifetime. My mother had a 7th grade education. She was a nanny. But my father, my oldest brother, he sat us down every week. We couldn't watch television on school nights, but he made an exception. The show came on Tuesday night at 8 o'clock. He sat us down and we had to watch this show. It was only on TV for half an hour. And what was the show? Julia. The show was biography. And there were no black examples. I remember seeing Charles Lindbergh, the pilot. I remember seeing Winston Churchill, Eleanor Roosevelt. And after the show, my father would quiz me and my brother. Okay, what'd you see? They had a dream. They had tough times. They overcame them. And my life, here I am, 72 years old, and my life is still biography. I got interviews lined up with folks, and I'm still not, just an inquisitive nature. But that knowledge factor is the key.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's 2 things that you walk away from today. 1, vision. Your vision has to be bigger than anything that you're looking through. 2, knowledge. Gain it, acquire it, buy it, study it, whatever you do. If you want to be successful as an entrepreneur, if you want to develop wealth, then you must have a vision of where you want to go. And it's biblical. We all have heard, the phrase, or the biblical, if you will, scripture, without vision, people. And let the church say, yep. All right, without vision, the people perish. But secondly, knowledge is the key to all endeavors. And without that knowledge, you're not going to be successful. So get the knowledge that you need. Dennis, Bill, I just feel like, I'm sitting here at the seat of masters. And so we thank you so much for sharing, your experience and your knowledge. We're going to talk to another outstanding entrepreneur here, Mr. George Tinsley. And we're going to go to a quick commercial break. You have been experiencing Millionaire Moves, the Wealth Choice.
ICABA-TV Millionaire Moves, the Wealth Choice. This episode is brought to you by PNC Private Bank.
So ladies and gentlemen, we have with us a special treat. And I don't know how you get much more special than what we've been experiencing with Dr. Pickard and Dr. Kimbro. But actually, this guy has a pretty good story. So, I'm sorry, but, he's not a silver spoon guy. He's not a trust fund baby. Matter of fact, what he was left with was nothing but a burning desire, to live a better life. Because unfortunately, his life did not start out on the crystal stair. It started out in a one-room, we may even call it a one-room shack, where he had to live with his babysitter because his mom left him one day and didn't come back. And until he was about 13 years old, he was in a one-room shack and living with her, and she was crippled. And but they say it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And I'm proud to have a chance to interview someone we come to call Mr. Obstacles to Opportunities. And he also happens to be my big brother. And so his name is George Tinsley. He is the CEO of Tinsley Family Concessions. And tell us a little bit, George, about why we call you Mr. Obstacles to Opportunities.
Well, you know, I as you mentioned, started out in a tough situation and have been able to face those challenges and be able to turn them into opportunities for the next step moving forward. But before I get into it, I want to thank you for the invitation and congratulate you on this dynamic show here. I've really enjoyed listening in and listening to the two great people you had prior, so congratulations, and I'm proud to be a part of it.
We're definitely glad to have you. There's also a book coming out in probably looks like March timeframe that's going to be called Catch as Catch Can, you know, turning obstacles into opportunities. And so I'd like for you to share the story about the young lady that thought that telling you that you should not try to be anything turned out. The woman that was one of your teachers, yeah, and suggested that well, you know the story, so go ahead.
Well, you know, Jerome, coming from the background and the situation that I was in, and you know, everyone knows that the first 6 years of a child's life is the key part, and we lived in an attic. As a matter of fact, the first place that Mama and I lived, Mama being the lady who was a babysitter that took me in, couldn't read or write. She had one leg, and she walked on a crutch and received a monthly check. So anyway, we, you know, coming from that background and no one looking at homework and no one challenging you and asking you how school's going and so forth, you know, my best defense was being a class clown. And so I did a lot of things, I think drew some attention, and I just moved from the white school. It just closed down. All the black students went to the closest white school in your area. And so the curriculum was totally different. So, and I'm giving you this for her defense, a little bit of her defense. So my sixth grade school teacher, one day she called me up and I think she was kind of fed up with things. And she said, George, you know, you just need to quit school, go get a job, because you're never going to be anything. You're not going to make it. And so
she was wrong.
Yeah, obviously, she it upset me, but I kept a smile on my face and yeah, went back, sat down, and every chance I got from that point on, as I'm matriculated, I went back to let her know.
Well, I think there's a definite lesson here. So we talked about vision earlier, and there's a saying that says, "Let no one's vision of you, okay, become your reality." Okay. So whatever someone thinks that's your possibility, that may be your ceiling, don't let that be yours unless you want it to be yours, okay? And so, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for being here, and we're wrapping up the second episode of Millionaire Moves, The Wealth Choice, with legendary franchisee operator, Mr. George Tinsley, CEO of Tinsley Family Concessions, and of course an ICABA member, because that's what we do at ICABA. We succeed, lead, and prosper.